I remember this one time we had this elder, and and he was super weird. I mean, to be honest with you, it's the best way I can describe it. He would never go out in service with the congregation. He always just had like Bible studies, or um, him and his wife would go on Bible studies and things like that. But he, and the funny thing is he was the uh, service overseer. Like, he was in charge of the field service. I can't remember what they called it. That was his main job, but never once did he go out in service with a group. And he was real um, hush hush about his life. Like, people didn't even really know where he worked. Like, some elders didn't even know really where he worked. He worked for the local newspaper for a long time, but then he had gotten fired, but nobody knew about it um, until one elder saw him working at Radio Shack when it was still open, and they asked him about his job, and he was like, well, it's none of your business or whatever. And these are brothers he served with, and he was super standoffish. I remember he used to lock the Kingdom Hall with him and his wife inside if they were having lunch, or if they had to practice a talk or something. Not a certain room in the Kingdom Hall, but he would lock the whole Kingdom Hall and leave a note on the front door that said like "Do not disturb" or something like that. And I remember when I was a ministerial servant, I would just go in. I mean, it's a public place, right? So I would just there'd be Pioneer sisters and stuff hanging around outside eating their lunch, and I'm like, I'm going inside, and they'd be like, oh, we can't, brother so and so's in there. He said, do not disturb. I'm like, he can't do that. I'm I'm going inside, and he knew he couldn't do it, and so he would kind of get upset or whatever, but wouldn't really do anything about it because he knew there was nothing to do about it. I bet every Jehovah's Witness has known a sister like the one I'm about to talk about. But we had this older sister. Her husband was the coordinator of the body of elders, and she was terrible. Like, she would say and do the most horrible things to people. I remember I was working behind the counter at magazines one time, and she had ordered a book, and another sister who was very poor, very little means, had ordered the same book, but the older poor sister had ordered the book before the coordinator of the body of elders' wife did. So of course, when one book came in, we gave it to the other sister. Well, here comes the coordinator's wife, and she said, has my book came in yet? And I made the mistake of saying, yeah, one of those books did come in, but we had to give it to Sister So-and-so because she ordered one first. And she said, without hesitation, loud so everybody could hear, well, you guys need to be concerned about who's donating more, not who's ordering first. And the other brother that was behind the counter with me got so mad and just started like chewing her out in front of everybody. And she just laughed and walked away. And she had been known to tell people that her and her husband paid for that Kingdom Hall, because they were rich and they had been in that congregation forever. And she would just flat out say things like how they paid for it and they can do what they want, and they would come and go to that place like it was their second home. It was like you'd go there any given time and they'd just be hanging out and stuff, and it's like, okay. But she would just say the worst things and just tell people's kids, like, you'd go into the Kingdom Hall and your kid would be sitting down punished, and you're like, did mom punish you? No, Sister So-and-so said I have to sit down for 10 minutes. Oh, excuse me? And she would just say all kinds of just terrible things. We had a bunch of biracial couples in our hall, and she would just flat out say stuff about black and white people being married. I mean, it's just horrible things, and you'd bring it to her husband's attention, and he was scared of her. He'd be, oh, well, everybody knows that's how she is, or, just horrible stuff like that. That's just two examples of people that just were weird over the years. I mean, there's so many other more examples of weird elders and their wives and things like that. But I don't know. It's just what I was thinking about today. Give me your thoughts.